The falling leaves drift by my window. The falling leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. Since you went away, the days grow long, and soon I'll hear old winter's song. But I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves start to fall, since you went away.
Hello. Welcome to another stream. Sorry I am late. I've been having some issues with my internet browser, so I had to reset Chrome. I was worried I was going to have to re-download it, which would be suck because I don't think I can do that because of Apple's forced obsolescence driving me up in the wall. I need a new laptop. But hello, hi, welcome back to Get Gaming, a channel by gamers with a Y, for gamers with or without a Y. Today, it's another solitary Sunday. I have my espresso with oat milk, which is my new favorite, and no top down today. It's just me. This is so much easier to set up. We're just doing kind of a sip and chat as we mutually react to the BGG Board Game Geek. Every year, Kevin Erskine, I think is his name, compiles a list, or I guess he does a whole poll of the People's Choice people vote on the top 200 solo games. I think just of all time. I don't think it's specific to 2023. But yeah, Liz and Maggie was also there, and that other guy, did their reaction videos to this list, which was like, oh yeah, so that totally brought my attention to it again. I think I'd looked at it last year, but if you haven't checked out their videos reacting to this one as well, if you go to Board Game Geek, the list here, I think you can also just Google People's Choice top 200 solo and it'll pop up, but they are officially linked. There's their official reaction videos. Always fun. Those are always really fun conversations. And, I was like, oh, that made me want to go and look at the list and kind of do my own reaction, my own ranking. So totally stealing the idea from Liz. She's been doing it for years. So I think it's fair game at this point. Yeah, and so get in the chat. I know a couple of you, my dear listeners, my most regulars, Tim and Hannah, I know, are also big solo gamers, so I thought they would enjoy this. Also, it's just been a little bit of an emotional roller coaster last several days, so I was like, I just want to do something easy for Solitary Sunday. But again, I'm trying to keep on, streaming consistently because it's very good for the channel and it's great to chat with you guys. It's always a fun time. So the way I want to do this, I have my little Google Docs thing. Also, let me know my audio is good. I know I had some audio issues in the last stream, so let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, say something. If you don't say something, I'll assume you can't hear me. When I looked at OBS, it looked like it should be fine, but I'll do this. I'll do this with the ear. Maybe somebody will let me know. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim. I assume you would let me know if you can't hear me. Because you're the one who so helpfully put audio starts at this place on the Autumn Harvest stream. Thanks. I'm figuring it out. Figure it out. Are you going to be with us long, Tim? Or are you going to go real quick? Because I'll just tell you my number one off this list. It's weird, this list too. Like, they're numbered from 200 to 1, but because of the way BGG lists work, number 1 is also 200, which was very confusing to me at first. I'm like, really? Everyone thinks that Flashpoint Fire Rescue is the best solo game of all time? This is news to me. But they're like in opposite order. So number 1 is, of course, Spirit Island, which also would be my number 1 in the ranking because that was my first solo game. It's still one of my favorite games of all time. And me and Rich just re-recorded our October stats video. Or no, we did a challenge video where one of the questions was, what is a game you haven't played in a while that you still love? And that's definitely Spirit Island. I haven't gotten it to the table recently because Rich hates it, but okay, sounds good, Tim. But yeah, I want to table Spirit Island again solo. I mean, I have no excuse not to play it solo just because Rich hates it. And that's why I heart you too, Tim, among other reasons. Because we're, you, me, same page. So yeah, that's going to be my number 1. And this computer is currently sitting on number 2, which is Feast for Odin. So there you go. There's your spoilers. Which I was happy to see those were in the top 20. And like I said, Spirit Island was number 1. But first I want to go through the games I want to play. I feel like this list... Maybe I'll do my top first, actually, because I already started it anyway. So Spirit Island was number 1, and we have to go all the way to page 8 on this thing. I do not see an option just to go to final page, so you're going to have to scroll with me here. This is the first time I've done a screen share on OBS streaming, so hopefully it looks okay. Hopefully it doesn't look like a total mess. When I was doing the preview, I was looking, OBS was in the preview screen, and it was like looking down a hall of mirrors, which was funny. Okay, so obviously page 8 is the page. The last page is really like the first page. At least, I guess it's like a countdown to like the top 20 or whatever. But Spirit Island is number 1. Also my number 1. Great solo game. Usually you have to play two-handed, which is why I think maybe it wouldn't be on some other people's top lists, but it's just so satisfying. It's such a satisfying... It's punishing, though. And that's why Rich doesn't like it. And solo, though, you can really focus and... take your time. I feel like when you play multiplayer, sometimes you feel a little bit more pressure, and especially if there's any kind of quarterbacking happening on, because it's cooperative. So you don't really need to do any kind of AI for the solo mode, which is nice. And you don't even have to play two-handed. You can just play one, and you can set it to the easy mode. I have beat this at the regular mode solo once. I'd like to do it again and get back into it, because I think I've only played with some of the basic spirits. I haven't even played with the goddess one. I forget what that one is called. I've mostly played with the The Fire and Rock ones. See, it's been so long I can't even remember. I really need to get it back to the table. But anyway, Magi was at number 2, which is one of those games, Liz is always raving about this game. This is her number 1. It looks... so I was watching a tutorial of this, and Magi is one of those things, the generic fantasy theme does not interest me really at all. When it comes to my fantasy themes, I like something a little more quirky. Just playing Lord of the Rings isn't going to do it for me, though I am still a Lord of the Rings nerd, so Lord of the Rings would be better. Like, if it's a specific, when it's this very general, he's a knight who also is a mage, and it's like, okay, whatever. But I was watching Liz's review and tutorial video of this. She does amazing tutorial videos, by the way. Especially for heavier games like this, and this is a very heavy game. The card play looked very interesting in this, and I like the idea of exploring, and I think it's mostly a boss battler, which isn't a genre of game I'm particularly into, but I think it's on the bucket list, along with what's that big space game that is not a solo game at all, has a lot of negotiation in it. Starts with a T. Twilight Imperium. Yeah, that's another one that's on sort of my bucket list of games to like try. Maybe if someone else taught me, but like I'm not gonna like drop a hundy just to try Mage Knight. You know what I mean? Marvel Champions. Everyone loves Marvel Champions. I'm not that big of a Marvel fan, so and I believe this is a lot of people play this too. I know a lot of people also play it solo. And my understanding is it's kind of a trading card game, if I'm not mistaken, which, I feel like if I was going to get into that life, I'd go for Arkham Horror, the card game. That would probably... Oh, there it is. At number 4. Arkham Horror. I've heard so many good things about this game. I'm not sure I want to go down the rabbit hole of buying booster packs and stuff, but I've heard just the base game can be a satisfying experience solo. I know it's more story based, which is a genre of game I'm trying to get more into. But I know Maggie from Thinker Themer, who I love, who's very much we are of the same spirit when it comes to solo gaming. Spirit Island. She's not in Spirit Island, but yeah, I've just heard a lot of good things about this one from her, and it's another bucket list one for me. Oh, I'm not going for this whole thing sequentially. That's not what's happening right now. You need to just scan through my top. So my number 1 was Spirit Island. I agreed with them there. The next one for me, number 2, was Spirit Island, which was all the way at 19, which I'm very offended about. But, not everyone prefers playing this solo. It has a really great solo mode, though, which I think I talked about it in... Oh, our September vlog didn't go live yet, but I have quite a long conversation about this coming up in one of our future videos about A Feast for Odin, so I'm not going to talk too much about that right now, but except to say it has one of the most buttery smooth, solo modes I've seen, and Uwe Rosenberg always has really smooth solo modes, I think because he does a lot of his... obviously, as a designer, you start kind of doing your first playtesting solo, so I think that's one of the reasons he always has good solo modes, because I think he does a lot of his design work, in his little office in Germany, looking out at the rain and pondering existence. Then Sprawlopolis would be my number 3. This is probably still one of the best button shies, I have to say. Steve the Dadini and Danny Devine. Daddy Divine was also there. All the daddies. And Paul Kluka, who I don't know what else he's done. But yeah, just it's a really satisfying solo experience. It also is a satisfying cooperative experience at 2. I've never played it at 3 or 4. I feel like that would be a little too much cooks in the kitchen. But when I played this with Rich, he's really enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed playing it with him. But it's like the puzzly card-laying game par excellence, It's just a masterpiece in my personal opinion. And I have all the expansions, the beaches one is one of my favorites. Rektar is the 1-card expansion. And I played Naturopolis, which is one of the follow-ups. There's also Agropolis and Kumbopolis, which lets you kind of mix and match the different iterations of this game together. I haven't really messed with that too much because I think just base Sprawlopolis on its own is more than enough to keep you busy trying to crack the code, because the different combinations of scoring criteria can be quite variable and make it feel really different each time. So 18 cards, you're not going to get more of a game. Like it's magical. Obsession was not my top list because I haven't played it solo. So that's going to be for the games I have played but not solo kind of list. Then Hadrian's Wall, as you know, so this would be my number 4. This was my number 1 on my top discoveries of last year, solo gaming wise, which is a great video I'm very proud of. You should go and watch it right now. Go, it's on the channel. One of our most viewed videos, rightly so. This is such a great game. This is also in the category of I haven't tabled it in a while. Liz has a really great tutorial video on this one as well. It's one of her favorites as well, and it's one of the things I really vibe with her on. Yeah, I just whenever I want to pull out a roll and write, I usually pull out lighter ones, and I think there'd be a little bit of a relearning curve at this point, I realize, and so I've just been struggling to table it again. But I do want to table it again soon. It's on my list of, okay, need to play this again soon things. And then my number 5, which is number 63. So we have to go to a totally different page now. So we're just skipping over that page completely. Where's 63 on here? Boop, 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 boop. Onirim, or Onirim, however you pronounce it. I never know how. I think it's Onirim. But if it's Japanese, because Oni are from Japanese mythology, right? So I think it would be Onirim. Sounds like the more correct pronunciation. But this was another of my first solo games. I've only ever played this on the app. But I played the app a lot. Like, it was my obsession for a while. I was just cycling between this and That's Pretty Clever. Which did also make this list, by the way. My niece and my sister, also, this is one of their favorite games. Definitely their favorite solo game. My niece has a copy, so I'm like, maybe I want to borrow it from her. Oh, we were supposed to go over to her place this weekend. That didn't end up happening. Oh, well. I have to text her. Then at number 6... Oh, let me just finish on Onirim really quick. If you've never played this game, I mean, it's a deck of cards, and that's it. I mean, it's just a really good, if you want a more lighter but still puzzly experience. It's one of those games where there's just a very firm win condition. It's not about points. It's about just reaching a certain goal, like you're trying to unlock a certain number of doors. It's got this very kind of Van Gogh-ish expressionist kind of art style, which I love. And he has a whole ton of games. This designer, I think he's French. He's also an opera singer, like myself. So that's cool. What is his name again? Shadi Torby, or Shadi Torbay, I think maybe is how you pronounce his name. I'm pretty sure he's French or Belgian or something. But yeah, I know Z-Man had the rights to this for a long time because they're the ones that published and maintained the app. And I know recently he bought the rights back to all of them, so he has his own publisher now, I believe. And he has a whole line of these, and they're all completely different games. Like, I think one of the newest ones is, what was it, Stellarion or Siberion? They all have the Eon at the end of them. Oh, this isn't the most recent one, but I saw Monique from Before You Play doing a reaction video, or she did a playthrough and tutorial and review of this. So this one looked cool. It's more tile placement. It's not even really cards, which, so it's a whole line. There's a whole bunch of them, and I haven't tried any of the other ones, but I've seen Castellion used about recently and considered getting it, but I think it's like a tower defense one. This one is kind of like a solo race game, which is very interesting. Yeah, I do want to try more of them and maybe actually play Onirim physically, because it's just a really satisfying like solo card game. The number 6 is at 73, so that's actually on this page. We're just going for it. And that is At the Gates of Loyang. So I think I talked about this in one of our recent videos. Yeah, I did talk about it in my Summer of Games. This is such a good solo experience. Talk about a buttery smooth solo mode. I think I prefer it solo over multiplayer, actually. It's a funny thing about it. I wish the art was less Orientalist. That's the only thing. But it's a really satisfying, like, contract fulfillment, sort of conveyor belt farming sim kind of game. And solo, you can whip it out in an hour, which is nice. Sometimes less. I've definitely gotten through it in this, like, 45 minutes, which is crazy for a Euro game, even solo. So very excellent. I'm hoping they're going to reprint it. It's pretty out of print right now still. You can find it pretty easily on the secondhand market though. Like, I got mine at a swap meet for $20. I think they just, TMG, who's the original American distributor of this, they've since folded, which many of you might know. It's still a bit of a, I don't know, controversy, but you know, like a drama hits at the heart for a lot of people. My friend John, he loves TMG. He has like a lot of their games. He has like a whole shelf of TMG games. And we actually talked about one in our most recent video of John, Jiraku, which is also a great game. Doesn't play solo. But yeah, TMG since folded because I think especially this one didn't sell that well in the States, and they just printed tons and tons and tons of copies. I think their business model was just to do really big print runs, and then a lot of FLGSs just, you know, I think had a hard time turning over titles like this. And maybe there are other titles too, but I know especially like the secondhand market is really saturated with copies of this because it didn't really sell that well initially. So there is a big cult following for it though, so you can definitely find it around. You know, I'm sure somebody has posted some PDF files too of the cards somewhere. So, and then of course, number 7, well, this is sort of 2, so it's number 77 / number 99, but I'm just going to go to 77 right now. Oh, I was hoping it would be on this page. I still have to go to the next page anyway. Number 77 is Grove, and number 99 was Orchard. I found it, and as many of you know, one of the very first videos on this channel, I think the first playthrough video on this channel, which don't go and watch it because the audio and lighting is absolutely horrific, but was Orchard, which is still one of my favorite solo card games. It's a 9-card game. Talk about tight, you know. Sprawlopolis is like, ooh, we can do it in 18 cards, and Mark Tuck, who's the designer of this, is like, hold my beer, I'm gonna do it in 9. There are 18 cards in the box, but you only play with 9 each game, so it's really designed as one of those games that you play back to back to back. It's like a 10, maybe 15-minute game if you have a lot of AP about it. But Grove is the follow-up to that, and there's a couple of differences between them. They're very similar games. It's all about card overlapping, you know, using cards like tiles and doing the card overlaying, which is one of my favorite mechanics. Cafe does it, which is one of my favorite solo games of all time, which did not make this list, surprisingly, but it has its own followers. But yeah, in Grove and Orchard, you know, you have dice. It's mainly card overlaying and dice placement. And you're trying to, you know, overlay light colored kind of trees in your orchard to be able to move the dice up to juice up the points on the pips. And if you cover colors that are not like, you can only do that so many times in the game and you'll get negative points for it. So Orchard, the OG game, is very is a very punishing, tight little puzzle. It's very hard to really get. It's sort of like not beat your. It is kind of like beat your own score, but you're trying to achieve a certain threshold to technically win the game. And if you're below a certain threshold, you've like lost. So it's a tough little puzzle, which is just makes it is part of what makes it so addictive. You want to play it again and again and again. Grove, on the other hand, it's a very similar puzzle, but though having to take, you have a lot more flexibility. You don't have to take as many negatives, and there's also more blank spaces on it now. So it's a more flexible puzzle. And also it has these other extra scoring cards like that are sort of like, fruit themed desserts and cocktails like lemon meringue, limoncello, fruit punch, things like that give you like these more kind of contract fulfillment extra scoring things. So I actually enjoy Grove as an experience more. It's a little less frustrating, but it's one of those games that I play it once, I do fairly well with the scoring. I'm like, okay, I'm good. It has the cutest little squirrel meeple, though. So, yeah. But it doesn't have that same addictive quality that Orchard had for me, is the only thing. Also, it's technically Rich's game. It's like the only solo game that he plays solo, which is funny. But I understand why they're both on this list. But I found it interesting that Grove is higher than Orchard. But I think that's just because Grove is a little bit newer. Can't remember if it came out at the beginning of this year or if that was the beginning of last year. I think it might have been the beginning of this year or the summer before that, because I just backed there's now going to be a third one called Forage, which is mushroom themed. So instead of Fruit Orchard, we're to mushrooms. I think there's still going to be squirrels in it or some kind of woodland critter, and so I just backed that one. He had a Kickstarter for it, so I'm very excited to see how that one will compare to Grove and Orchard, because I do very much enjoy both of them. Grove is a little bit cozier for me. Like, I really like those extra scoring cards. It's a little bit more of a positive feedback loop, whereas Orchard sometimes can make you want to like slap your head against the wall. But again, that's what makes it so addictive. Then at number 122, which, do I have to go to a new page? I probably do. So as you can see, my sort of top ranking has quite a big spread across these 200 because I am very much an omni gamer, I guess. Where's 122? 106. That's pretty clever, which I've only ever played on the app. I've never played this physically. This is Yahtzee on crack. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's very abstract, very addictive. Another one of those ones like Orchard where the addictive quality is about just trying to beat that higher score. It's almost like an arcade game. And I've only ever played it on the app. Maybe it would be more satisfying physically, rolling the actual dice and, filling out the board. I think it's a dry erase board, if I'm not mistaken. But allegedly, this is one, like, you can play it multiplayer, like Yahtzee, but it's very multiplayer solitaire, is my understanding. Like, there's no real interaction, as far as I know. Like, I don't know if the dice drafting works a little bit differently, multiplayer. But this is one of those ones where you're just like, okay, I'm going to hit those green ones really hard, and I'm going to try to get those combos going with the purple, and I think there's definitely a code. Like, there's a formula for doing well at this game. And one of the things that makes it addictive is trying to unlock that formula. Takes quite a bit of experience and practice. Like, this is a game you can play literally hundreds of times and still kind of try something a little bit different. Which is nice for such a tiny, quick, it's like a 20-minute game, I'd say, if that. I think on the app you can get through it in 7 minutes, but if you're actually having to roll die and write things and stuff, I imagine that would add obviously some time. But it's really great if you just want an abstract little, and you want to chuck some dice and just, combo some dice effects, this is not a bad one to have in the rotation. And then number 136. Okay. So I don't want to say this is a controversial pick, but there's going to be some recency bias on this one. Let me go to the next page. I wish it was just one big page, Maybe I don't. Probably having them separated into pages is best. Where's 136? I love that Barrage is on there. I didn't even know you could play that solo, by the way. That's funny. Door from Antique is my latest obsession. I am obsessed. And the only reason I think that this game slaps so hard is because you have this really great system of unlockables. So it's a campaign game. It's not really a legacy game because you're not really physically changing any components necessarily. Like you have like a sheet where you're tracking kind of the things that you've unlocked, and you can kind of take different paths and unlock things in different orders. So there's not like an exactly set order of unlocking things. Like there kind of is, but it kind of diverges a little bit. And it's basically just a tile placement game. I mean, it's kind of like just a more interesting Carcassonne. Like if you're like me and the thing you liked about Carcassonne is the map building element, this is the game for you. It's all about map building and just really trying to boost your score as much as you can. I'm kind of stagnating. I'm in the middle of the campaign right now, and I'm kind of stuck in this between 100 and 180 category, and I'm trying to beat 200 to unlock box number 5, which is sort of probably going to lead me to the tail end of the campaign. So I'm sort of like in that midway point. But it's just so addictive. It's one of those ones you have to play at least 2 or 3 games of it back to back because you're just trying to get to that next threshold and unlock things. And if it didn't have the unlockables, I mean, the base game itself is fairly basic, I would say. The thing that makes it interesting is that you can only work on 3 different scoring criteria at a time. So like you're trying to make groups of 5 of an area. So, and you're trying in, and it's hex tiles, and you know, you're trying to, you have these little tiles on there that say like 5 or 6 or 4 or whatever, and once you've managed to get exactly that number for that group, you get to take that off and get a new task tile, and you can only work on 3 task tiles at a time. So that's the thing that elevates it a little bit more, makes it a little bit of a crunchier puzzle, but it's not like Calico levels of crunchy puzzle, you know what I mean? Like it's definitely on the lighter side of medium weight. It won the Spiel, but I think this was the Kenner Spiel, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like a family weight game, but it's a more like 8, 10 plus level family weight game, because things can get pretty mathy as you unlock more different kinds of scoring things. So there's a lot of cards and tiles you unlock as you go through the game that really start making it really, there's so many different scoring, end game scoring criteria you're trying to juggle, and and it's one of those games where you often find yourself just, oh well, now I'm fucked, I'm not going to be able to complete that particular scoring criteria, so I have to let it go and focus on this other one and try to make that happen. Yeah, but if you like puzzly tile placement games, I definitely suggest giving that one a try. And then 142 is another button chai. I was really glad to see some button chai representation on this list. So Food Chain Island, which is still one of my other favorite button chais, one of my favorite Scott Alms solo only button chais. He has quite a few now. But this is basically just a slide puzzle with, you have a grid of the different animals, and as you cover up the different animals, they have different abilities, different criteria. So like if you place, you know, it's sort of a predator eats prey kind of thing. So you're trying to get the higher numbered predator cards on top of the lower numbered prey cards, and then if you do meet certain criteria, you'll be able to unlock sort of extra actions that will make the slide puzzle a little bit easier. So if you like slide puzzles and you like those animal ecological themes like I do, that one is definitely a must. And it has that orchard element where you're just trying to beat it. Like you're just trying to get to only 3 cards left in the tableau. So you're stacking cards on top of each other. That's the goal. So there's not really a point driven game. It's a goal oriented solo game, which is usually what I prefer overall. Then number 11 is at 158, and we'll go for the ones I want to play after this probably. 158. Calico, which is still one of my favorite. Talk about a puzzly tile placement game par excellence. This one is so good. It can be very frustrating and punishing to break through that 50-point threshold, which is basically what you have to do at the very beginning of this campaign. It's quite difficult to get there because I think in the multiplayer game, the average score generally is in like the 27-ish range, I would say. I mean, in the multiplayer game, I've rarely seen people break 40. So in the solo game, breaking 50 is like, ugh, it's so hard. But I do prefer it solo because it has that conveyor belt level drafting that, Flat Out Games basically uses this in all their solo modes for this line of games, Cascadia, Verdant, where, you have like however many tiles, 3 or 4 out, and then the only AI management you have is just removing one of the tiles and refilling, and it's that conveyor belt kind of system, which I really, really love. It's so easy to manage and helps you just focus on trying to optimize your puzzle. It's very much an optimization puzzle. So really love Calico. It's another one I need to get back to the table. I haven't played it in a while. I did play it with John not too long ago. Actually, it was probably back in May. Well, it was 6 months ago. This year has been flying by, and not necessarily in a good way. And then 169. Oh, by the way, Tim, we need to get that 69th subscriber because me and Rich are going to do a very special 69 theme short when we do. So you need to get someone to subscribe to the channel so we can do it. Because we have ideas that may or may not be too hot to handle. Meadow is at 169. I'm just glad Meadow made it onto the list at all, you guys. Now, this is kind of ranked. I just based this kind of ranking on... It wasn't like... This isn't specifically my end-all be-all rank of solo games. This is just sort of me going sequentially through the list of the ones that I would choose for my own list, personally. If I was doing the list myself, I'd probably reorder some of these things and Meadow would be a bit higher. But, I'm not the only one that enjoys it solo. It's just, some people don't enjoy the puzzle. Rich really struggles with this one, I think, because it is very tight in the sense of, you're building out your tableau, and as you cover up certain symbols with other cards, so you're trying to create this engine of resources to use, but every time you use them, you have to cover one of them up. So it's a game, the puzzle is really about, okay, what is the right order and to place these cards out to give myself, the clearest path towards, it's point salad, essentially. But I like the solo mode because it's one of those solo modes where the AI is just blocking spaces from you and taking cards, which actually helps flush out the market. I wish that the market got as flushed out in the 2-player game, because the 2-player game, the market can really stagnate once you get into the third round. And I feel like the solo mode doesn't have that issue. I feel like the downstream expansion kind of fixes the issue a little bit, just gives you a little bit more flexibility. But I just love the art. This is probably some of the best art in any board game, like hands down. And it's a really good, I just want to relax kind of game. And you really do get that feeling. It's very thematic because you really do get the feeling like I'm going on a walk through the Polish countryside. I'm observing the flora, the fauna, the scenic vistas. And look, from my hike, I discovered I brought back a single eagle feather. Like, it's very much the vibe. And they are coming out with an adventure book version of this, where I think it's like a journal, like campaign version of Meadow, which I'm ridiculously excited for. So this is definitely one of my top, 3 favorite games of all time. So I'm just really happy to see it on the solo list. And then number 13 is 190. And then I'm going to get into the games I've played on this list, but not necessarily solo. But 190 is the Bloody Inn, which we did not play for spooky season. Rich was like, oh, can we play the Bloody Inn? Can we play the Bloody Inn? And like, I don't know. Deadly Dowagers and Demon Worker were distracting us. And just every time he suggests taking, I'm like, well, no, it's a spooky season game, and I want to save that for spooky season. I'm not really in the mood to murder tonight. Or at least if I am in the mood to murder, I'd rather murder my husbands for money as opposed to murdering strangers for money. You know, it's just my morals. But it's a really great game. I think I like it better multiplayer in general. Like, the solo mode is good for just exploring the different kinds of engines you can build in this game, like exploring what kinds of combinations of the multi-use cards are really juicy. But the solo mode, you're just going through it, boop, 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 and you don't have that same tension of kind of competing and sort of semi-cooperating with other people, and you don't have like that table talk, that sort of macabre black humor table talk that always happens with this game inevitably, that really makes it such a fun experience. So you kind of miss that a little bit, I think, in the solo game. But if you like a little combo-y, engine buildy, multi-use card game, it's a really good one. And there's no AI. Like, you're literally just running for the cards. I think it has you just thin the deck out a little bit more. So it's really easy to do solo, which is why I think it's here. And, you know, it's just such a cool theme. The art is so delightfully weird. You know, it's almost kind of cubist. So what very much a game I still really love, but it's another one I need to get back to the table, but I think multiplayer. So I want to talk through, I'll skip the games I've played, but not solo, because that's not as interesting as the games I want to play. So the thing I really love about this list is there's always, it's rare for me to find games and I'm like, oh, I've never heard of that game. But it is a case of me being reminded of games I really want to try that I've heard so many great things about. And then occasionally you do get some random ones that you're like, oh, I didn't know that played solo. Because a lot of this, you know, it's a big mix of, obviously, when you're solo gaming, between things that are solo only and things that just have solo modes. And I think I would say the majority of this list is more solo modes. There is a good representation, I think, of solo only, but that's still, I think, not as big of a genre yet as just multiplayer games having the solo modes, you know. There's a lot of people that play solo. Obviously, if they can play some of these games multiplayer, they probably would. Oh, that's so cute, Tim. Yeah, Deadly Dowagers doesn't have an official solo mode, but I did kind of fab my own one, like using the sort of card drafting system from At the Gates of Loyang, and it actually worked pretty well. But again, that's not a game I particularly want to play solo that much, again, because I kind of miss that table talk. That would make it so fun. And if I were going to play a game like Gaysana, I definitely want to play it with other people. You know, again, that table talk would just be like a big part of the experience, I would imagine. I'm glad I'm not the only one that's on this Deadly Dowagers train, because I didn't hear anyone talking about it for a while, and then the only time I've heard anyone other than you mention it is in relation to spooky season games to play. Yeah, I mean, Spirit Island could just be your only solo game and you'd be set. Again, I like to have a more relaxing experience for my solo time generally, but sometimes I do want that meaty solo experience, and Spirit Island is great for that. And I find now I've been doing A Feast for Odin a lot solo, which is also a very meaty experience. Yeah, so it's been making me want to motivate myself to get Spirit Island back to the table, because again, that was my first solo game. That was my first game heavier than like Dominion, which is crazy the more I look back on it. Like, I studied that rulebook like I was going to take a test on it. Like, I just want to get back to it. I know there is a lot of replay, but all the different spirits, I haven't even gone for the spirits. I've never played with any of the adversaries or scenarios, and I still love it. I just need to get it back and like get a little better at it so I can bump myself up to adding in those other things and explore maybe some of the expansions. Like, I heard the, what is it? Is it Branch and Claw, something in Claw, I've heard is one of the really good expansions to integrate first. But yeah, I need to table it again. Maybe tonight I'll try it. Now I've been talking about it so much because me and Rich just literally talked about this like we were filming yesterday, and it was a conversation in the videos. So yeah, I need to get it back to the table for sure. So here's the fun part. It's time for a little bit of let's compile our wish list, so to speak. Oh my god, I have 31. So I'm not going to talk as long about each of these because these are the things I haven't played or I don't own a physical copy of. Mostly haven't played. Branch and Claw. Okay, I got it right. Oh yeah. Spirit Island. So yeah, when we meet in person, Tim, not if but when, we need to play Spirit Island together. We need to tie Rich down to the chair. I love that game so much. I keep on my friend Bianca. She really loves it. Her and her boyfriend and their friend play it like all the time. It's like their lifestyle game, but you know, she's really crazy busy. Like she's like the busiest person you've ever met in your life. So it's really hard to like get our calendars to align. Which is so sad because, you know, we have also a big shared love of that game. So I talked a little bit about Arkham Horror already. That's number 1 on my list of games I want to play because this is just, I keep on hearing so much about it, and I know it's story driven. Cthulhu themes aren't always like, you know, the most exciting for me, but I can get into a little tentacle cultist action. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I already talked about that. Then, Dune Imperium is on here. This wasn't part of this list because I think I put this on the games. I don't know why I didn't put it on the list. Well, I'll put it on now. Dune Imperium. I really want to try this game so much, and not just solo. I think multiplayer. I think for this games I want to play, I was focusing when I made this list more on ones that I know I'd want to play solo and not multiplayer. So I might skip over most of those, but I might hit a couple. I have played Arc Nova, but not solo. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure I'm really understanding the optimal card play in it, which I think is a big part of the game, but I like the tile placement part of your zoo action part of it, and the engine building aspect of it. So I'm not quite sure why everyone's so crazy obsessed with it. I mean, it must have to do with the kinds of combos you can make with the cards, I imagine. But Imperium is one that I really do want to try. Monique was talking about this on her Discord server as, you know, a heavier solo card game to try. And I've seen this used quite a few times, and I've gotten really close to getting it. My understanding is that the rulebook is very kind of obtuse and difficult. Like, it's difficult to learn from the rulebook, which is, of course, a cardinal sin for me. But, you know, I will deal with it if I think the game would be really good. And I love Civ builders, and I want to try more board game Civ builders. So this is supposed to be a really good one for that, and you can play as sort of different civilizations. It is one that I really want to try. Like, you know, obviously if I could get it used really cheap, I think I might just try to grab it. And this really, if I were ranking things and not going sequentially through this, Final Girl would be number 1 on the to try solo list. I've just heard nothing but rave about this game. And everything I've seen of it has been like, ooh, I just love the horror theme. I love slashers. I love horror movies. I love, solo games. So, I don't know. This one seems like it's a lot of dice rolling. It's very much, again, a boss battler kind of aesthetic. And I'm not necessarily sure if that is my what I'm going to gravitate towards. Again, though, you know, my taste in gaming has changed quite a bit over time. You know, I used to be, you know, strictly a party and family weight gamer, and that's definitely changed over time. Like, I never thought I would be getting into these heavy worker placement Euro games, and then that happened. So I definitely think if I were going to try out a boss battle or a solo boss battle, or this would be the one I would go for first, just because I love the theme so much. Um, so yeah, like that's going to happen soon. I'm not quite sure when. Maybe for my birthday or something. I will put this on the wish list. Because they have the starter packs for this now in Barnes and Noble. I saw one. It has like the core box, which gives you the main components, and then it has a Happy Trails as sort of a starter pack because you need the different scenario boxes to play it. And that one, they were selling that one. I think it was like 40 MSRP or something like that. And I've seen the individual core boxes and scenario boxes for $15 a pop on Game Nerds, so that's probably where I'd end up getting it. But this is becoming more available, so it's definitely getting pretty hot. They already have 3 whole seasons of scenarios, so there's lots of content for it. So that's nice. Eon's End is one that has always been suggested to me as a co-op / solo game, and now there's Astronauts, which I guess is a sci-fi reskinning of this, and I don't know, again, generic fantasy, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Then number 15, Robinson Crusoe. I've heard so much about this game, again, as a cooperative game mostly. I know a lot of people like it solo. It's supposed to be very punishing. Also, the sort of colonialist theme is never really a big hit with me. But I know, I think on the solo list, Jason Perez, who does a lot of podcasting with Liz, a really cool guy, he actually did some cultural consulting with them, with the designer, to rework some of the art to make it more, the characters you can play as, more diverse, which that's always nice to see when people make an effort, even retroactively, on their games like that. But, I do kind of like the whole, Lost on an Island theme, though, as long as there's not, again, problematic Orientalism going on, with like savage cannibals or whatever. There probably are cannibals in this. But it is one that I would like to try at some point, just to see what the hubbubaloo is about, because this game's, I think, 10 years old or something at this point, and people are still raving about it. So there's that. So this one really pains me. Under Falling Skies. I saw this at Half Price Books for like $20, which is, not a crazy deal, but like a pretty good one. And I was this close to getting it, but yeah, someone else snatched it up before I could. So I've heard a lot of good things about this. I know it's a lot of dice placement, very, literally the skies are falling, the dice, the alien spaceships are coming down towards you and you're trying to zap them or whatever. I think there's a little bit more to it than that, but it looked like it could be a really fun little solo experience, very silly and cheesy. And I know there's supposed to be like a whole campaign you can go through in it, allegedly. It's something that started out as a print and play or like an 18 card game, I believe, and that he's since expanded, which I just love that. So this one I definitely want to try very soon. It's kind of like up there with Final Girl as something that is really, really high on my list. I played Cascadia quite a bit solo. It's still not my favorite of the Flat Out games, just in general, but, I've worked halfway through that campaign, so, and Rich really loves it, but, I just thought I'd mention that while we're here. And we already talked about A Feast for Odin and Spiralopolis. I did not know that Obsession has a solo mode. Is this a fan-made thing, or is this official? Inquiring minds want to know. But I love Obsession. I'm obsessed with Obsession. I think it was one of my, I don't know if it was on my list of discoveries, certainly not solo discoveries, but this is really after Votes for Women, this is number 2, to just get a copy of. It's that high on the wish list right now. So knowing that it has a solo mode is just okay, no, we need to get the hands on the physical copy, because I know Rich would just like love this game too. Like, this would just be all about that table talk. Well, let's go for a stroll to the countryside. Well, I think I'll be hosting a party in the stables. Like, it is so much fun, Tim. Oh, I love it so much. Yeah, so I just play it on BGA all the time. Like, I always have a BGA game of obsession going. Which, by the way, Tim, if you want to play games with me on BGA, Too Legit to Quit, 88. I should put it in the chat. I don't know if you play stuff on BGA, but there it is anyway. You know, you phone a friend, you know, send it to someone else if they want to play BGA games with me. That's cool too. And I forgot, Wingspan does have a solo mode, huh? Rich bought this. It's not officially in the collection yet, though, because I have to wait till Hanukkah. He, for some reason, thinks that Hanukkah is the gift-giving holiday, which it really isn't, but like, you can just wait till Christmas. It's fine. Hanukkah to me isn't about gifts, but, you know, that's fine. But it's finally in the collection because we love Elizabeth Hargrave so much. And Wingspan was a lot of people's first. I think it's like the last of her games that we're coming to, which is ironic because we love Mariposas and Tussie Mussy so much. And it did back Undergrove, which is her new one. I love a mushroom theme. And I think Rich is going to buy the Fox Experiment next. Like, we're just got to catch them all. So I will let you guys know how that one is solo, what I think of it. Probably in, I have a feeling it's going to be in a Solitary Sunday list video at some point. And then, okay, we're getting to some of the stuff that's really going to perk your ears up, Tim. So at number 6, is that number 6? Well, I guess this isn't a true rank. It's number 26, I should say. Am I on the right page? Newsfjord, more Uwe Rosenberg. Oh, Tim, so you're not about that digital platform life. The main reason I am is because I'm so active on the different Discords, and so I do most of my digital gaming with people that are in different time zones or in different countries. So it's really good for that, I find. But, you know, obviously I prefer playing physically most of the time on some games. There are a few games, though, that are easier to play digitally than physically, so it is kind of nice. And BGA is releasing so many different games now, which is nice, but it can be, you know, sometimes a little frustrating to use because it's a 2D interface on BGA, and it automates a lot of things. So, it's a little click and find out sometimes. Like, I'm in a game of La Granja and I still barely know what's going on. So it's not always the ideal, but it is nice to be able to play with, people you can't be with physically. But Newsfjord is high on my list of Uvas to try. It's been out of print for a hot minute. I think they're coming out with a big box or something. But it is one of the Uva solo modes I've been told is really, really good. Nordic Fishing Village isn't probably the highest on my list of exciting themes, but again, I'm always down to be convinced. And I didn't realize It's a Wonderful World has a solo mode. That's a drafting game. I've only played it once, though. I am very tactile, so one of the things I like about solo gaming, like as a solo gamer, if you just want convenience, you'd just be doing digital, right? But I just really do like that tactile feel. I like being able to shut my brain off when I play. And then I also do like, the social element, multiplayer. Like John doesn't like doing solo gaming at all because he's very much about that social element when he games. Like, that's a big motivating factor. And for me, I love the social element, but I don't always need it when I game because for me, I truly like just interacting with the game as well. But like I said, there's some games like Deadly Dowagers that social element is a big part of the fun factor of the game. So, it really kind of depends on my mood. Oh yeah, Zoom. Well, you should set up a Zoom date then for maybe Spirit Island would be hard to play over Zoom, but like a solo roll ride or something that would be fun. I'm always down for that. Or one of these solitary Sundays we could do a stream and play along kind of thing. I think that's what I'm gonna do for the Ada Lovelace Legacy campaign, which I'm starting. Oh my God, is that next week? I gotta start prepping for that. Which, if I had any say on this list, Ada Lovelace, Consulting Mathematician, didn't make its way onto it, and I think that she was robbed. / the designer's a man, but Oh, and there's Nemo's War, Tim. So I do really want to try this game. It's been on my radar for a while. I do like this theme. I love a nautical theme. I don't know what it is. I'm afraid of open water, but I like a nautical theme. And I like this sort of semi-literary kind of themes, that are drawn from literature, are always very interesting to me. I've heard it's a really thematic game. But, I know you were saying there's a lot of dice chucking, which I'm not mad about. I haven't played a lot of games where you're just doing like, I don't know if in this game it's really like skill checks, but just in general, rolling dice as like, a mechanism to, do checks and things. Don't know if I would be into that kind of play style or mechanic because I've never really done games that really do that. And I do want to explore more games like that use that to see if that is something that I would be into. But I think as far as story-based games that I might end up playing solo, my eyes are really on Lands of Galzier right now, which I don't think made this list. I think you can play it solo quite easily. But that's also at the top of the wish list, Lands of Galzier, because, cute animals. I think Rich would really get into that one. Then Pax Panier is actually on BGA now, so I do want to try this one there first and see if I would like it. I know it is a war game, but I'm like watching Liz's channel so much is making me want to dabble in war games. I know, but I like the theme of this one. It's a little sort of like not quite anti-colonialist, but it has a very open-eyed take on the history. It's about sort of the colonization of Afghanistan, I guess, and the way in which local Afghani princes sort of collaborated or not, or clamored for power within the government. And it's one of the, like, on the top 5 of war games to try list for me. And I've heard it is more accessible for people who aren't necessarily war gamers. So that's high on my list to try. There's Eldritch Horror. Everyone's going on and on about For Northwood. Solo trick taking, though, that sounds up my alley. It's very cutesy kind of art, like grade school levels of cutesy. Like, it's a little off-putting to me, to be honest. But I was watching Jenna from the Board Game Garden stream this not that long ago, and it looked really good. So I would be down to try it. But again, like the sort of uber cute art that looks like it should be in a children's picture book isn't really drawing me in like I think it should be, but whatever. Now this is after Final Girl. This is like the next on my list of solo games to get. Legacy of You, because I love Hadrian's Wall so much. I really, really want to get this. So this is a solo campaign game. Someone was posting it on a Discord, and they were gonna offload it for like $20 because they already played for the campaign. And it's allegedly a legacy game, but my understanding is you don't actually physically destroy or alter really any components. So I think it's more campaign than a true legacy game, but I think they were going for a double entendre here. But I really love the theme. It's ancient China. And it looks like one of the less Orientalist games about, there's quite a few games about allegedly historical China, but this one seems like a little bit more researched, at least. Again, it's going in that line of, they have this kind of subgenre of games where you're fighting barbarians, and this one it's the Mongols, which Okay, fair. The Mongols were fucking with everyone's shit at the time, so it's less problematic, I guess. They were the invaders, so. But I'm not really a big fan of that whole barbarian other trope. As an adversary, it was a little ick for me. But if it's not like they're super obnoxious about it. Like in Hadrian's Wall, it's not that intense. It's not like we're directly fighting the barbarians. For the most part, it's a very abstract kind of check at the end of the round, in my personal opinion. So I don't know. I think it's supposed to be similar in this one, and the art is just amazing. Like these, who it's like the two brothers, right? Because there's Shem Phillips and the other guy does a lot of their art. Oh yeah, Sam Phillips usually does the art and just this art style. It's so I don't know, it's really good. So I've heard this one's very Eurotastic, as all their games are. So I do really, really want to try that one. I don't know why I put this one at number 55. Oh, I do have Friday. I did try it. Not my favorite. It's okay. It's strangely abstract. More so even than I was anticipating. And there's like three different pictures of art in the whole thing. And one of them is freaking Robinson Crusoe's dopey ass face. And I'm like, I just like, it's just not the most aesthetically pleasing to me. And then I haven't beat it yet. So that's also the other thing. You could play Sleeping God solo, I guess. This is one of those games, like, this is on the close to the top of my list of campaign games to try, maybe after Lands of Galzier, or story-driven games in general. But it's something I'd probably want to play through with Rich. Like, if I was going to do a big campaign game like this, I imagine that would be something I'd want to play with him. But who knows? Maybe if I ever do play it, I will want to do it solo. My understanding is it's very much a game about just exploring the world, and it's not particularly directed as far as choose your own adventure games go, which is a complaint I've heard. But I love the art. I love the aesthetic. I love the idea of playing the different characters. This is one I really want to try. Fuck Western Trail. I'm always debating, when I officially go down this campaign route, I think I will start to want to try games like The Seventh Continent. That is kind of on my list of ones that sound interesting, because I just like the idea of the exploring and the civ building and all that kind of choose your own adventure action. But I've heard this one can be a little frustrating, because I think there's a way in which you can just die like early on in the campaign or something. And then you have to like reset the whole thing. ISS Vanguard is one I've heard good things about as well. I don't know if that theme appeals to me as much, but it is like I'm kind of like doing my research and trying to decide, okay, which one do I think I know is really the theme is really gonna slap enough to get me into it, because I think it's sort of like, it feels like leveling up in a way. I guess it's not, because some campaign games are lighter than some Euro games, but we just like legacy games so much, and we played these lighter legacy games, and I'm like, I want to start dipping my toe into that that sort of campaign game world, because I'm just craving more thematic immersion in my games lately, and I'm not always getting it, obviously. I do want to try Welcome to the Moon, but I still don't have my own copy of Welcome to, so maybe that will come first. And now we're getting to the interesting part of the list. This is going to start to get into some really type of territory. Oh, I still need to play Tapestry solo. I haven't played it solo yet. There's a whole booklet for the AI that's almost longer than the base game rules. And I'm like, I don't want to you have to manage 2 AIs. So you have to play as yourself and then manage 2 other AIs. I'm like, why? That's so much. There are a lot of great expansions for this, and I do really love this game. But I thought I'd just mention that. And I didn't realize you can play Race for the Galaxy solo, but that makes sense. But I need to understand the game a little better before I do that. So this is one that sounded really interesting to me. I think this is technically a war game, but it's one of those war games that's not about battle. Literally, the theme of this is literally what the Palestinian people are going through right now. Not to get all political, but like, this is literally about civilians trapped in a war-torn city who must make difficult decisions to survive. So I actually, like, if I am going to do war game, I want a really deep, intense theme that's really going to tug at my heartstrings. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to be a meaningful experience, kind of like, you know, Stonewall Uprising, which war game publisher, not really a war game, but it kind of fits into that territory for me. Like, of a game making a very meaningful statement. So this is one that sounded really interesting to me. I think it's supposed to be basically Poland in the 80s, which was a very dark time under communism, especially like the 70s going into the 80s. The communist regime in Poland was very oppressive, because what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the countries in the Eastern Bloc weren't under the direct control of the Soviet Union. They were sort of more ancillary states who technically were running their own things, but they were part of the greater Communist Party, which was establishing an hegemony. But most of the oppression that happened in the Eastern Bloc countries was coming directly from the local governments. And in Poland, it was especially brutal. Similar in Czechoslovakia, but in Poland, it was even worse. Like the rationing or lack thereof, like, you know, hunger and lack of food was a really big issue. The lack of freedom of speech, people getting jailed for like being critical of the Communist Party and things like that. So this is one that I would really love to try, just because, you know, I've studied that time period quite a bit, because my main professor and mentor in my composition degree, he's from Romania, and he grew up under communism and stuff. And we did a whole semester in my composition studio on Polish composers of this period. Like Gorecki and Lutoslawski especially was had a lot of struggles with the Polish government because he was so critical of the Communist Party. So this is something like I've like read several like books on this period in Poland specifically, so that's why this game really called out to me. And I think it's not specifically Poland, it's a little bit more generalized, but I saw that it is Polish designers, so I'm like, oh, this is definitely about Poland in the 80s. Is it? Let me know, Tim, if you get it to the shelf, how it is, because that one is really, it's really calling out to me. And I don't know how much of a war game it really is. It sounds like on the line of, you know, No Motherland and Stonewall Uprising for me. Getting texts for Mikhail. Like, this is not Mikhail's number anymore. Fields for Arl is another Uwe game I really want to try, but I know it plays solo, but that seems like a game I'd rather play it too, personally. This is my understanding. Concordia is on the top of my list of Euro games to try, though. Definitely. Would that be one I prefer playing solo? Who knows? That's why it's on this list. Now, I actually really want to try the video game for Frostpunk before the board game. That board game, though, it looks so luxe. If I was going to get into a minis game, I feel like this would be the one, because it has like this really huge tower in the middle. And I really like that whole post-apocalyptic winter kind of theme is very interesting to me. But I've heard that the video game is also very good. So this would be like pretty close to number one on my list of like, because I don't play video games very often. I'm very picky with them. Because I'm generally not into like, you know, typical shooter battler kind of video games. This one has a really interesting theme to me. So I don't know. I'd probably try the video game, and then if I really like the video game, that probably would incentivize me to get the board game. Yeah, I've heard so many people talk so much about Concordia. I know it's like on everyone's like top Euros of all time list, so that's why it's one I definitely need to try at some point, you know. Just add it to the bucket list, you know. But if I find it used somewhere, I definitely would grab it. I don't know if I want to pay $50 new just to try it. Like, maybe if I tried it at a convention, then I would be more incentivized to pick it up. But trading in the Mediterranean, I'm there. I'm all about that. I'm all about that theme. um, Speaking of war, Maki, this is like really, I think after Final Girl and after, what was the other solo game I said I really need to get? Legacy of You. I think this would be next. Maki, which is one I saw Monique do she had a list of like solo games that she was really into, and this is one I can't remember if this is the one where it's the French resistance or if it's the Catalonian resistance, but they're similar time periods. The Catalonian separatists. I think this might be the Catalonian separatists one, but it's one of those solo games where I think it's kind of like hidden movement almost, like you're trying to avoid, the police stuff from, finding your guerrilla warriors out. Avoid patrols, complete missions versus the Nazis. I'm pretty sure this is the French Resistance one, but it looked really good. It's supposed to be like a small box, little worker placement, solo only game that you can do in like an hour or less. So it sounded right up my alley. And it looked really good when she was doing an overview of it. And I think this is the same designer. I don't know if this is the same guy that did Resist and that Witchcraft one. I always get them confused. What else did he... I think it might be different. It's just kind of a similar theme to Resist, I think. But I think it's in that same mode of like solo only, like a war game technically. And I like, again, the thing that turns me off about a lot of war games is I don't want to play as the Nazis. I don't want to play as, the Great South or whatever. I like games that are about ordinary day people just trying to exist under tyranny or fighting against tyranny. So that's why this theme really appeals to me. Obviously I've played Row. I think I talked about that in the recent video and I need to play it more. We talked about that one. Okay, next page. We're getting to the end of this, I think. I think Resist is number 81 on this, actually. So let's look at that real quick. Everyone's been raving about this one. I think this is the one that's the Catalonian resistance. Definitely not the same designers, so it's totally someone totally different. Is it the same publisher, maybe? I'm probably just getting these two mixed up in my mind, is what it is, because the themes are so similar. But yeah, every time I play Castell, I'm always like trying to mention, because in Castell, the first player marker is the Catalonian flag, and the Catalonian resistance is still very much a thing politically in Spain. It's a little controversial because the monarchy is like jailing rappers for criticizing the monarchy, and all this crazy stuff is happening politically with repressing free speech in Spain. And, the Catalonian resistance is still very bitter and still exists, and is still a thing. So that's why I find this game being so popular must be very interesting for designers from Spain, especially with Resist. Exclamation point. We're still technically have a monarchy. We're not a true democracy. Like, that kind of action. I do still want to try a Vital Lacerda game. And I've heard Kanban EV is the place to start with Lacerda games, but we shall see on that. I think that's maybe a year in the future type thing, because I'm with that weight of game, I don't know if Rich is going to be able to follow me there. So, might be once I find a more established play group that wants to play heavier games, because that's something I kind of need a little bit more of in my life. Oh, hi, there's ISS Vanguard. Well, let's just look at it because Tim mentioned it. I see more. Are these? No, more Polish people. Oh yeah, it's like a sci-fi theme, right? Awakened Realms. Interesting. Oh, so this has like the little minis and stuff, huh? That's cool looking. Well, you let me know how it is, Tim, because I think this might be on BGA too. I can't remember. I know maybe someone in the Discord was talking about this. But let me know how it is, because I do like some sci-fi games. I'm very picky with the sci-fi games, but you know. And there's Agricola, which I do want to try solo at some point, but I have a very love-hate relationship with Agricola, so I'm just not very good at it. And I think the solo modes, it's all about the card play. I mean, really multiplayer, it's really all about the card play. It's like a card game masquerading as a worker placement game to me. Hallertau is one I really want to try by Uva. Glass Road, I've seen it, Great Escape, several times, but they want $60 for it, and I don't want to pay $60 for, you know, older Euro like that. I've heard a lot of people really talk about Xayah. John's ex-girlfriend really loves Xayah. That's a sci-fi game I might actually be down to try. Have you ever played it, Tim? Xayah? It's interesting. Earthborn Rangers. This was one that was on one of my anticipated lists from previous year. I always compile like around late December, January, like releases I want to keep an eye out for. And this was on them, and it totally missed whenever it got released. Clearly it has been released to some degree. This is one kind of like it's pseudo sci-fi, like near future ecological theme. It's one of those things where you know, you're exploring in a wondrous mountain valley. Okay, Tim, you own Xayah, but you haven't played it. Is that what I'm hearing? Fair though. I have. You should see my stack of Doom of unplayed games, you know? For real. Yeah, I'd be down to try Xayah sometime. So you gotta play Xayah. We gotta play. Well, we can't play Nemo's War together because that's the only right. Spirit Island and then Xayah. How about that? That'll be like a light Saturday afternoon. So as I recall, Earthborn Rangers, I think it's deck building. It's been so long, but I know this one was on my radar a while ago because I just love the art. The art on the cards is really cool. I think it's cooperative, if I'm not mistaken. I just love that tree. The city and the tree. That's so cool. Okay. Yeah, and I think there's like this little map with the little terrain. And yeah, this is one I might want to get at some point, but I think there might be some kind of campaign action in this one. I honestly can't remember, but I just remember really liking the art. It is a deck builder. Cooperative deck builder, yeah. Or card game, it says. I don't know if it's like true deck building. But it does say you begin by building a deck that reflects your ranger's interests, personal history, and personality. I like that idea of curating like my own character and exploring cooperatively in a game. Yeah, this is one I definitely want to keep an eye out for. Are people selling it yet? People are selling it for a pretty penny. $80 on Miniature Market. That's not awful, but I'm gonna wait for those. Are there minis? It just looks like just cards. Why is it so expensive? That's so bizarre. Well, maybe at some point, but it's just nice to be reminded that game exists. Oh, and then the Loop. This is a Pandasaurus cooperative game, and I've had my eye on for forever. And I really do want to get this to play with Rich because we love Pandasaurus games. You know, maybe we'd love them a little bit more if they paid their employees on time, but allegedly. Allegedly. I'm just quoting Dicebreaker. But yeah, this is one that looks like a really fun cooperative game. You're going through time trying to destroy the clones of Dr. Faux. F-A-U-X. So I just love like the whole like time traveling thing. There's like this cool little cube tower in the middle of the board. It's so like colorful. It's like all the saturated pinks and purples, which obviously we love. See Stonewall Uprising. It's got like a similar like color scheme going on. And there's a little expansion for this where you can battle Foezilla. He's not the real Godzilla. He's Fozilla, so that you can't sue us. Oh, I really want to get that one. Oh, you have played Zaya. Well, what'd you think? Is it super heavy? Because I'm still. Some people have described it as like last year's Voidfall, I guess, or whatever. It looked like in a similar vein to that. But other people I know have really raved about it. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that one. I did know you can play Teotihuacan solo. This has also been high on the list of things to buy for a long time because I played it so much on BGA, and I think Rich would really like it. This is from the same... I don't know if it's the same design team, but it's the same publishers as Praetor, which is one of our favorite games of all time, Board and Dice. So I do want to try to get into some more Board and Dice games this coming year. Oh, there's Orchard at 99. There you go, holla. And Earth, which I have played a fair amount on BGA. I would like to play it solo. It looks a little fiddly. In the physical copy, but it's a really fun tableau building game, and I like the eco theme, so that's probably one I'll pick up used at some point. Choose your own adventure of dice rolling. I'm detecting a theme in your interests, Tim, and I am piqued. My own interest is piqued because I do want to get into more choose your own adventure games. That's why I think Lands of Galzir will probably be are dipping the toe into the water on that once I can justify dropping a hundy. I don't think it's quite a hundy. I think it's like in the realm of $80. But Rich loves chucking dice, so I feel like he could get into those kinds. I could really see him getting into those kinds of games, especially if we play them together. This is also okay. So after Final Girl and after Legacy of You. And after McKee, here's Coffee Roaster. Maybe actually Coffee Roaster will be first because I know I'm going to like this game because, 1, Japanese designer. 2, Kafefe. And I saw Jenna do a stream of this. I'm like, okay, I need to get this game. It's bag builder, coffee, Japanese designer, sold. That needs to happen. Burn Cycle was on my anticipated list for last year as well. I've been watching a bit of content on it since then, and it seems like a much more like a big huge minis game than I was expecting. I guess Chip Theory is known for these things, and these are the things that I'm learning. I think it might be almost like too gargantuan of an experience for me at this point in my journey as a gamer, but I love the theme. I love the theme of like robot janitors in the cyberpunk thing. I love a cyberpunk theme when it's done well, when it has that sort of satirical tongue-in-cheek kind of touch, which it sounds like this one does. But I've heard it can be really tough, and it's really, it just looks like a ooh. But that could be good. But again, I have to really be sold on something like that to drop that amount of money on it, Like, if a game starts getting even upwards of 50, you start getting like, maybe when money is no object. Fantastic Factories has been on my radar for a while. Multiplayer, though. I didn't know it played solo, so I've heard it's a good one. I've heard it's fun. I've seen it on the list of Asian designers, games by Asian designers lists, because we love Japanese designers so much. Joseph Chen, who I believe is Asian American. Yeah, he's from Seattle. What other games did he do? I was looking this guy up before. Is this the only game he's done? He sounds so familiar. I think I follow him on Twitter. That's what it is? So I need to try his game. Yeah, Amy Maggie from Thinker Themer reviewed that game a while back, and they really enjoyed it. And they're usually pretty picky with lighter to medium weight games like that. I did recently try Architects of the West Kingdom. I don't think that's a game I would want to play solo. Actually, it was a little underwhelming to me. But, I played a bunch of worker placement games. I feel like if this had been one of our intro worker placement games, before we had played so many, I would have liked it more. But, I was thinking of getting it for a while, but we ended up getting Rajas instead of this. And Rajas is like our favorite game. There's that Voidfall game. Tim, have you played this Voidfall game? Do you plan to play this Voidfall game? Because everyone and their mama is acting like it's the best thing since sliced bread. And I'm like, what is everybody on about? And this is another one of those publishers that's known for these like crazy heavy games, right? Mind Clash games. Yes. So I did $1 pledge for Septima. It's the only Mind Clash game that I've even know that we would add to the collection just because of the theme. So, but I know most of their games are much heavier than Septima. And, the sci-fi theme is not, and this one isn't really speaking to me. It looks very abstract. And just looking at the stuff, all the stuff was like, ugh. But if I was at a convention and someone said, hey, you want to learn Voidfall? We need another player. I probably would. Because, it looks like there's some Eurotastic stuff going on. Like, I guess there's supposed to be a lot of comboing going on in this game or what have you. But, I don't know. M is for Meeple Mitch. She was raving about this game as well. And they tend to be, they're sort of a mix of like lighter family weight games. And then they like a lot of campaign games. So I know. And this is kind of how I feel about, that's how I feel about a lot of like these general sci-fi themed games though. They go for that kind of futuristic look and it just looks not appealing to me. Like, I really like Beyond the Sun, but Rich is just like nixed us playing that game because he took one look at that tech tree. It's like, ugh, which I don't mind like a tech tree or something having, a sort of numbery looking thing, but this one there's so much iconography that really clutters it up. Yeah, that too, because Mind Clash does a lot of bigger games similar to Chip Theory, yeah, and they're the type of games like I'm not really sure if that will ever be our wheelhouse or not, because if I'm gonna play a heavy game, I like the theme has to be good, right? The theme has to draw me in for that level of investment, Speak of the Devil, Brass Birmingham. This is a game that I know Rich hates, like industrialist themes, like the whole train game thing and Masters of Industry kind of thing. Like it's because he's a Marxist. Basically, the really Marxist comes out and is like, I don't want to play as the man. Basically, is how he feels about that. Oh, this is one I really want to get. Iranian Burger Canal. So I think they are repackaging it and printing it in the States, but they're going to redo the art, I guess, and it's just going to be Canal. I've heard so many good things about this, and Monique and Naveen did a playthrough of this, and I was like, that game looks amazing. I want it. It's very interesting take on worker placement from the worker placement guy is still able to kind of do a twist on it. It's very interesting because you're doing stacks of workers and you pick up the stack and you leave one worker behind as you go. It's really interesting. And it's a lot of network kind of building. There's a certain abstract kind of tableau building puzzle going on like in a lot of his games, which I really like. And this one plays 2 or 1. So sorry, I blank for a second. I was trying to think who else was talking about this game from Salt and Sass. There's Mandy and Suzanne. Suzanne was really raving about the solo mode of this game because she's a big solo gamer. And I generally tend to vibe with her tastes in games generally. So yeah, this one is definitely, the second it comes to the States, I'm definitely going to grab a copy of that one. And I didn't know you could do Paper Tale solo. My understanding was this is a drafting game though, so I feel like I would want to do it multiplayer. I know Z Garcia has been talking a lot about Paper Tales and it's supposed to be really good. And this is another woman designer, which it's a Japanese designer. I'm thinking of a different game. But you know, me and Rich are like, okay, is it a woman designer? Is it a Japanese designer? I hate to be all like, you know, like identity politics about it, but like we generally have yet to come across a game by a Japanese designer or woman designer that we didn't really like. So because they're so, you know, there are not as many of them in the American market, like realistically. So they tend to be better. And we like to represent, you know. But I've heard a lot of good things about this as like a really quick drafting game. Yeah, inserts for the big box games are always very helpful. I like in A Feast for Odin, once you get the trays set up, it makes setup super easy. So like the setup for A Feast for Odin is not as overwhelming as I thought it was going to be before I got it physically because of those trays. So having good inserts definitely would help, and that would definitely be a deal maker or deal breaker for me when I'm looking at potentially getting a bigger game like that. I think I've been hearing a lot about John Company later, but I'm not sure if this is another, you know, master of industry theme or not. But I heard it's really complex and hard to learn, which aren't necessarily deal breakers for me in and of themselves. But people have really been raving about this. Oh, you're running the East India Company. No, thank you. Too colonialist for me. That's like peak colonialism. I'm sorry. We talk about That's Pretty Clever, which I should probably just get a physical copy of. I finally got a physical copy of Yahtzee. I think we've mentioned this several times now, but I should get a physical copy of that one too. Never gonna play Kingdom Death Monster because I was watching a review that was very spoiler-tastic, and yeah, some of the theme and artwork in it is kind of misogynist. Not really my vibe. I think he described it as like tits and gore, and like he was showing some of the artwork and stuff, and I was like, ooh, no, that's not my vibe. Not my vibe. Have I hit? Oh, I haven't even hit all the things I want to hit because I'm just talking about everything now. We're just going through the list together. That's what's happening. I do have to go pretty soon. I could probably stay on for like 20 more minutes, but Isle of Cats is one we need to get to the table again, too. It's about exploring the Indian subcontinent. Okay. Allegedly. Are there actual Indian people in the game? That's my thing. Like, okay, but, you know, are we just ignoring the fact that there's already people there? You know. Like, I'm okay with like a certain level, like if it's a historical theme, a truly historic, like well-researched historical game, I can roll with it. But you know, if it's just a veneer that could have been anything, then it feels a little bit, you know, ick to me. Exploiting and exploring. Okay, well, it's the exploiting part, you know. That's all I'm saying. Circadian's First Light. I've heard this is, I guess, was the first Shem Phillips game. So I think this is like isn't this supposed to be like astronaut theorists, the theme or something? New species in space. It's some kind of sci-fi theme. We were light years from our home, galaxies away. So space colonization is fine. But this one, I think you're actually interacting with aliens, which could be interesting. Yeah, I've heard good things about this one. It's one I'd like to try eventually at some point, but it's not like high on the list. Palm Island, however, is high on my list because I've heard this is one of the really good micro card games that's not a button shy, and it's a game you can play with. Oh, is that a cool whirly game, John Company? He's usually pretty good on tackling those kinds of themes because I think he did PAX Premiere too, right? I'd give it a shot, but it's not something I'm going to go out of my way to get. You know what I mean? Because I have Root, and that's what it's like. Literally, it was right here for a while, but Root is one I need to learn and try to teach to Rich at some point. Very controversial, that Root, the cute animal war game. You know, Am I gonna become a wargamer? I just like hear like, ooh, I don't know. The wargaming pool looks so enticing, but ooh, and I'm thinking of dipping my toe. It looks cold. Is it cold? Yeah, okay. I think I vaguely recall that. So I feel like he would do a good job with that. So maybe I will be convinced to try it. Um, yeah, I did back it, of course, because we have to cover it on the channel. We have to cover every game on the channel. So I'm all in, baby, on Molly House. That's for sure. I'm so excited for it. It looks so good. Yeah, it's been on my radar since it won the Zenobia a couple years back. So all the previous Zenobia winners are now getting all their stuff kickstarted this year, which is nice to see that they took the time to develop those things because it's all first time designers, is my understanding. So I also backed one of the other Zenobia winners, which is I think it's Cartini, which is about the education of women in sort of like revolutionary era Indonesia, which sounds really great. Is another Asian and woman designer. So I'm really excited for that one as well. And there's several other Zenobia winners. I have to keep my eye out for when those are getting kickstarted as well. A lot of them have been kickstarting all this year within the last I feel like 6 months or so. And they just closed their entries for the next Zenobia list. So I think that will be coming out fairly soon-ish. So I'll be really interested to see who ends up on that list, games and names to look out for. So this is a actual war game that I'm really interested in. Again, I like the anti-colonialist theme of this. This is about you're playing as the Navajo and you're trying to resist being subjugated by either the Spanish, the Mexicans, or the Americans. And I think this is a follow-up to this designer also did, and I don't know if he's indigenous himself or not, but these games seem very well researched. And so Comancheria, the rise and fall of the Comanche Empire, which is just a fascinating historical topic to me. And I like that people are actually, attempting to do games on those topics because representation. I don't know if he is. I guess he is doing a First Nations series from the Native American tribes' point of view. Yeah, I guess it got a best war game nominee in 2016, so let's not be that bad. I guess Navajo Wars is the earlier one, and this is the follow-up. Tyranny and Blood. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think I heard of that one on that list. It's been a while since I read through that list, but yeah, Tim is on the pulse. Good job, Tim. Yeah, but that's this would be on the top 5 list of war games to try. I think either Comancheria or the Navajo Wars. Fascinating stuff. And then we're just going for this again. I'm surprised Barrage plays solo. I guess I shouldn't be surprised to play solo. It's very multiplayer solitaire, that game, and I still barely understand it, but I do enjoy it. It's a really good worker placement game. Then this is on the shelf right here. Keep the Heroes Out, which me and Rich still need to get to the table. I was hoping to add another cooperative game to the collection. I've heard this can be punishing, but there's different difficulty settings on it, and I just love the theme. We don't want to fight the monsters. We want to cuddle with the monsters and be the monsters and just have a whole big monster doggy pile. So I'm hoping this game will give us that aesthetic. The art's really cute. But if it ends up being too punishing for him, then it could always be a solo game for me. So, there's that. And I guess people are playing La Granja solo. I'm still trying to learn it right now with peeps on BGA. I think I'm starting to get it. I think it's a game I could end up really liking as classic Euro games go. But good to know it plays solo. That's all I have to say. And everyone's always talking about Black Sonata Solo. This is a hidden movement game, true hidden movement game, and I love the theme. Though I would like it if instead of the Dark Lady, it was, a more homosexual theme based on the sonnets, like, a little heteronormative for me, this take on Shakespeare, but that might be a controversial take. But I heard it's just a really good solo game, and I love the art. It has like holes in the cards, so there's like this almost like Ouija board type mechanic going on in it. So it's one I definitely want to grab. Probably used at some point. And then I think we're through. We're almost there. I just wanted, this is just like okay, let's build a wish list together, guys. The holidays are coming up, and my birthday's right after the holidays too. So, says Tim. I'm not sure which part you were laughing at, but I'll take it. Oh, Planet Unknown is really fun. I really want to get a copy of this game because I've been playing it on BGA, and it's a really good polynomial puzzle game, and I could see it really slapping solo. So, it has like the little the lazy Susan to spin around, which on BGA it's not satisfying, but in person, spinning around that lazy Susan with the tiles on it, yeah, I'm here for it. I saw it at Barnes and Noble, but it was like $60 or something. I was like, oof. But I definitely want to get it at some point. And then again, I mentioned Astro Knights, I guess, is a reskinning of Aeon's End. And again, I don't know if I'm really about the boss battling life, but we'll see. So, I'm not surprised people are playing Mansions of Madness solo, but my niece has specifically requested this as a game for us to play together. Like, as a family campaign game. I should tell you something about my family, about my niece specifically. So this is something that I'm eventually probably going to get. I think I'm going to get it for her for Christmas. And then we're going to all, me, Rich, her, and her boyfriend Logan are probably going to play for this as a team. Because, yeah, she's really interested in this one, and as am I. Paleo, that designer said some kind of gross things. So I'm kind of off the paleo. Same thing with Australia. And, what was next on here? Boop, 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 boop. Everyone's either raving about expeditions or dragging it through the mud because I guess it's imbalanced or something like that. But, it's... Again, it's Jamie Stegmaier. He's just so cute. So he always gets a pass because he's just adorable. And I love Tapestry. Which is really the only game of his that I've played. So people could be right about all the imbalance criticisms and stuff, but I don't mind the imbalance in Tapestry. Like, I like asymmetry. I don't care if it's balanced. That's by definition what you're going to get with something asymmetric. So not everything has to be perfect open information, I'm glad to hear that, Tim, because I feel like I would enjoy it more than Scythe. It sounds a little bit more up my alley, just kind of the whole exploring aspect, building the board out and stuff. Scythe is something that, yeah, I've noticed a lot of people compare them. I'm very aware they're very different games, by the way, just to put that out there. But I do like the theme. I like that kind of alternate history theme that's going on in both games. And I think Expeditions looks more like the kind of game that I would prefer over the kind of game that Scythe is. You know what I mean? Because I know you don't have to do the battling in Scythe, but I know John especially would not be willing to... maybe he would be willing to play Scythe with us, but he did not like that star system that Jamie Stegmaier has in those games. He's not a fan of that, and he felt like the runaway lead was a big issue in that game. But he really likes, what's Jamie Stegmaier's first worker placement game? It's like the older one. It also kind of has like a cyberpunky theme. It's on the tip of my tongue what it is, but that's one that he really loves. So Monique and Naveen are always raving about that one. That's one I really want to try. I just can't remember what it's called. Okay, I have to go back to Jamie Stegmaier because now I gotta look this up while we're here. Well, we're just going over all the many, many games that Andy wishes he could spend his money on, but cannot. Euphoria. That's the one that everyone likes. Euphoria. Build a better dystopia. Yeah, I like that whole alternate 1920s universe too. Like, it is a very fascinating thing to me. No, it's Euphoria. Yeah, that's the one that sounds really interesting to me. I don't know. I kind of heard so things about Red Rising, and I've never read the book, so it's not really that appealing to me. Fleet the Dice game is one I've heard a lot of great things about from solo gamers, so I do want to try it. Again, it's like Newsfjord, more fishing. Fishing isn't exactly the most exciting theme to me, but this is from the same people that did Three Sisters, so, you know, I think it'd be worth checking out if I got it used or something, or if, like, it was on sale. Caverna, the Cave Farmers. I really want to play this game because I love Uva, and this is supposed to be like Agricola, but not as punishing, which sounds on the level for me. It is on BGA, but we started a game and I got kicked out of it because it's taking too long to play my turn. So I've still haven't really played this game yet, but I would like to, probably on BGA, to see if I would like it. And then there is an interesting looking, like, Forgotten Folk, like, fairy themed expansion, which looks really cool art, at least. So, you know, this is, again, something on the level when I know I really want to get the game and I'm willing to drop a hundy. This would be pretty high on my list of games to get. Burgle Bros. Okay, last page. We can do it. I have to go work in an hour. I'm working a tree lighting ceremony, which is always fun. I'm gonna put even a jacket over this sweater is what's gonna happen. It's cold here. It got down to freezing last night, so I guess it's winter now in Sacramento. We barely had fall, but now it's winter. So that's California for you. I really want this game. Wayfarers of the South Tigris. It's out of stock a lot of places right now for some reason. But I really, everything about this game is screaming must have. Because dice, worker placement, sold right there. I love the history of the Islamic Empire. Absolutely love it. And this is the only game I've seen that really, I think, covers like the contributions that the different kind of stages. I think this is the Iraqi Muslim Empire under it was the Caliphate, I think. Caliphate era Islamic Empire. But this is one that talks about, their contributions to exploring and astronomy and science. And I think that's something a lot of people in the West don't realize how many significant contributions the Muslim culture has made to, science and math and culture in general. So this is one of the few games I've ever heard about that really seems to do that. So Batman Returns. I'm channeling Batman Returns. Oh my God. Yeah. So for real. Is that Euphoria, you mean? Does it have that kind of art style or that kind of vibe? Because for me, it's all about 90s era Batman, the animated series. Like that's my Batman vibe. Like that's the Batman I grew up with. So that's my niece is a big Harley Quinn aficionado, shall we say. I didn't know this Revive game. It makes sense this Revive game would have a solo mode. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It looks like a really chonky Euro. Again, one of those themes of post-apocalyptic. You're trying to renew the earth. It's kind of the ecological kind of theme. But this one, when I looked at this board, though, I was like, oh, this is not a game I'm going to get rich to play. It would be a tough sell because it's a little busy. But there's a lot of, from I understand, a lot of engine building. It's so cool. The little recessed board and you're moving the things around. But just that board, it would be too busy for him. He would take one look at that and run in the other direction. So if I did end up playing this game, it probably would have to be a solo game, which is fine. I've gotten him to some Euros, but he's always going to be a medium weight guy, I think. I really want parks. I've had my eye on parks for forever, but I just don't want to pay $50 for what is seems like a fairly light game, you know? And this is on BGA, but for some reason I've never played it with anybody on BGA, so I don't know. But I love hiking. You know, we always try to go to camping in one of the national or state parks in California every summer. We have so many beautiful national parks here. You know, I just love the theme and the vibe and all that. So this is one I would like to add to the collection at some point, but it's going to have to be an on sale kind of thing, you know? And, oh, there's Sylveon, the Oni Rim. This is the one about forest fires, which is a little triggering for me as a Californian. So, and Orléans is a Euro that I've had my eye on for quite a while. I love Gothic era France as a theme, similar to Troyes has a similar historical context to this game. You know, I've read like all the trial transcripts of Joan of Arc's trial. You know, it's this kind of time period in French history. I used to be a French major, so read quite a lot of French history. Yeah, this is a bag building game from what I understand, but also like a big chunky Euro game. So I've heard so many people say so many good things about this one. It's like a classic for them. And so I really do want to try it at some point. Ghost Stories is one I also need to get to the table solo again because I do enjoy it. It's quite punishing though. And I keep on seeing Darwin's Journey about. I've seen it in several local gaming stores around here actually, and the expansion. So I love paleontology, biology, archaeology, you know, genetics. It's all really fascinating to me. Like my YouTube, if you look at, you know, sort of my suggested videos on YouTube, it's all either, if it's not board games, it's all archaeology and paleontology or skincare. Because now I'm trying to deal with my eczema, so I'm like researching a lot of skincare right now, like moisturizing like 4 times a day. But yeah, this is a game that looked really good. I think it's board and dice, if I'm not mistaken. It's not, but it's Simone Luciani, who is a really awesome Euro designer. I think I played at least one other of his games, but I can't remember what it is. I heard this game is quite Eurotastic. So I definitely want to try it. There's a whole bunch of Darwin Galapagos themed games that have come out recently. I'm not sure what that's about, but I'm the theme that really, really speaks to me. And I have Clans of Caledonia. Is it on the shelf? Oh, it's right next to me. I need to get this to the solo table soon so I can teach it properly to Rich. I got this game for free, so there's no better price than free, Tim. I really want to play that one. You know, you're doing business in the Scottish countryside. What's not to love? There's lots of sheep, and you're making beer, among other things. I've heard a lot of good things about Regicide. I feel like this is a card game I should just get at some point because a lot of people really love it. And that's it. Okay, went for the whole list like twice. But I just thought this would be fun to do, just give you guys an idea of like, okay, well, what solo games I need to get back to the table, what solo games do I really want to try, what's going to kind of be on, this is sort of like a what's on the solo radar list. So hopefully fun. It was fun. Hopefully it was informative. And you don't have to read through the whole list on your own. We got to go through it kind of together. So that's always fun. Oh, I guess we're just going to pull this out. That's what I decided is going to happen. Oh, let's go to OBS. Sorry. Look, there's the Hall of Mirrors. Welcome to Behind the Curtain. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Hi. Oh, hello. My sweater. This is poking out, but I'm gonna put on a jacket later because I'm gonna be outside for the rest of the afternoon and evening for the tree lighting ceremony. So that's fun. Here, you don't need to look like right at me. This is a little weird. That's a little weird. Oh, but I had it over the screen share. Okay. I'm still learning. You're still getting familiar with OBS there. So, content creation is a journey. So we are streaming on Tuesday. I didn't post a poll because I think we're just going to do mariposas. That's kind of decided. And then I think I will post official announcement. But again, like I mentioned, we're doing Lacrimosa the week after that. And then I'll be doing a daily stream for Ada Lovelace, Legacy of the Machine, which is the legacy / campaign version, follow up to Ada Lovelace Consulting Mathematician. So that will be coinciding with Ada Lovelace's birthday. And Lacrimosa will be coinciding with the anniversary of Mozart's death. So thematically appropriate there. And what else? I think that's it. I think I have to start getting ready and see, get to the tree line. But thank you for coming and chatting, Tim. Hopefully, I don't know. You're probably like, oh, I have all these games. I already know about all these games because I'm on the pulse. But thanks for coming and chatting anyway. And then maybe hopefully this will be for people watching this after the fact. This might be helpful so you can kind of get some ideas for some other solo games you might want to check out. So, as always, remember to stay gay and do crime. Rich still feels like maybe we should change our tagline. But I like my meme references, so I want to keep, be gay, do crime, and don't get caught. I'm glad you had fun. Yeah, it's kind of nice just to sit and chat and have relaxed video. I don't always have to be pulling out the whole game. Sometimes it's fun to just do a live list. So I've seen other people do live lists. We might try to do a live for our yearly math. I'm thinking for New Year's. Might be fun. So I'm still chewing on that. So I will let you know on that. So it's always nice. Always fun to get on stream. So, and I have to, for our next video, I'm trying to figure out DaVinci. I'm migrating over from iMovie to DaVinci, and it's going to be a little bit of a process. So I'm hoping to have a bunch more videos out soon. December, we're probably going to be dropping a lot of stuff that's been on the back burner. And then kind of getting prepped for, some end of year retrospective kind of stuff. So that will all be coming. We had a good filming sesh yesterday. We filmed 3 videos yesterday. So that was fun. And we had to refilm several things, there's always it's always a bit of a thing organizing it, but fun times. Yeah, and we should do a live play along for something. I'll do a poll. Maybe that'll be something we do for coming up to Christmas. Maybe not quite Christmas Eve, but a Christmas themed stream for something. I might try and find a Christmas themed roll and write that we could do as a live play along. Would be fun. So I'll post it all in the community tab. Well, it's been real. I gotta get going. So have a good rest of your Sunday. Hopefully the rest of your weekend is calming, relaxing, and hopefully your Monday isn't too soul-sucking. Toodles.